How do you do? It would be a little unkind to present this picture without just a word of friendly warning. It deals with the two great mysteries of creation, life and death. I think it will thrill you. It may shock you. It might even horrify you. So if any of you feel that you do not care to subject your nerves to such a strain, now is your chance to, well, we've warned you.
Why is light given to those in misery, and life to the bitter of soul? To those who long for death that does not come, who search for it more than for hidden treasure. If only my anguish could be weighed, and all my misery be placed on the scales, it would surely outweigh the sand of the seas. No wonder my words have been impetuous. The arrows of the Almighty are in me. My spirit drinks in their poison. God's terrors are marshaled against me. Curled into a ball in the dirt, a prehistorical patriarch sobs with a dry face. His storehouse of tears is empty, and the only expression of grief he has left is with torn garments and tired groans. Every inch of his exposed flesh stings from the massive oozing sores that cover his body. His once lively lands are now empty, as all of his livestock have been taken by thieves and natural disasters. He longs to hold his children once more, but all of his progeny have died in a building collapse. This patriarch has lost everything, and he is bombarded with disheartening questions. What did I do to deserve this fate? Did I somehow provoke the wrath of God? Is the God that I worship one who ultimately does nothing? In the midst of his grief and loss, he asks, what is God's disposition towards me? That question is asked by millions of souls around the world. When tragedy strikes and the touch of misery approaches, one can barely help but feel that the world is turned against them, that God himself has turned his face away. Out of apathy or malice, it makes no difference. The divine disdain, the Creator's contempt, can be too much to bear. In those moments of despair, it can feel like the only conclusion is that God must not care about us. God must not even exist. God must hate us. From ancient Greece to far-off planets, this video essay is going to look at several potential answers to the question, what is God's disposition towards us? In 2012, Alien director Ridley Scott released a prequel to his classic hit. The official poster of the film signaled to the audience its philosophical ambitions as it displays a colossal statue of a head with the title Prometheus displayed underneath. Prometheus, of course, is a reference to the Greek myth where a titan named Prometheus makes humanity and then brings fire to them, which provokes the wrath of the gods against him. These themes of creation and creator, and humanity's obsession with acquiring new technology, or fire, are central to Ridley Scott's futuristic sci-fi movie. The movie opens on the planet Earth before there was life. From a spaceship descends a white figure that looks almost like a marble statue from the Renaissance, and drinks a strange black liquid. His body then dissolves and is swallowed into the water, which is now teeming with DNA strands needed for life to develop on the planet. In 2089, a group of scientists have discovered evidence of these ancient beings who visited Earth to accelerate humanity's development, both biologically and culturally.
These are images of archaeological digs. The same pictogram showing men worshipping giant beings pointing to the stars was discovered at every last one of them.
And the scientists interpret this as an invitation.
No, not a map, an invitation.
From whom?
We call them engineers.
Engineers? Do you mind telling us what they engineered?
They engineered us.
The scientists readily accept this invitation and organize an expedition to learn, maybe even meet who it was that made us. Arriving at the distant moon from the star chart, the scientists discover a structure of unknown origin and purpose. They explore the cavern-like halls and find the gargantuan statue of a head from the movie poster. It's surrounded by dozens of strange vases and an ominous mural on the ceiling, like a sinister Sistine chapel. Elsewhere, they find a pile of corpses from 2,000 years ago, engineers piling over each other trying to escape from something. Back at the scientist's ship, we learned that the vases are filled with a black goo. The same black goo, it seems, that the engineer drank at the beginning of the film to create life on Earth. This black goo, however, does more than create life. It can mutate, corrupt, and even kill any life that it touches. What was the settlement for? Why did the engineers have vases of this destructive black goo? What happened to the society of engineers that used to live here? The scientists eventually find a hallway that leads to a massive ship, one that is loaded with thousands of the vases of black goo. The navigation computer records that Earth was its next destination.
It's carrying death! It's headed for Earth!
But something happened. The black goo apparently got out and killed off all the engineers before they could launch the ship. All that is, except for one. The scientists find a single engineer who's been asleep in a chamber for thousands of years. They wake him to ask their questions and finally get answers. The old man funding the expedition has his translator tell the engineer, "This man is here because he does not want to die. He believes you can give him more life." The main scientist, on the other hand, has her own questions for the ancient being.
I need to know why! What did we do wrong? Why do you hate us?
The engineer looks down at the scientists like Zeus looking at the human race, and immediately starts attacking them. He kills most of the group, then starts the ship's navigation computer once more to initiate the launch to Earth again. He's going to complete the engineer's initial plan to wipe out humanity. In the movie, we're never given an answer as to why the engineers wanted to kill humanity, though it's not hard to imagine any number of reasons. The main scientist at the end even asks,
They created us, and they tried to kill us. They changed their minds. I deserve to know why.
In interviews, though, the director, Ridley Scott, has stated that his intent for the movie was that 2,000 years ago, the engineers sent an ambassador to assist in humanity's development, but we killed him, provoking their anger. So, basically, Space Jesus. They created humanity, but their plan went wrong and they decided to destroy their creation. In the world of Prometheus, the gods' disposition towards humanity is like gardeners pulling weeds out of a flower bed. They see our corruption and they desire to annihilate us. In this view, our suffering could be seen as just desserts. We are getting what we deserve. When bad things happen, we might think that God is punishing us. His disposition towards humanity is one of wrath and destruction, which we have brought upon ourselves. Ridley Scott, though, is not the first to interpret the story of Prometheus into science fiction. Mary Shelley is the mother of modern science fiction. In 1816, when she was only 19 years old, she wrote what is considered the first and one of the best science fiction books of all time, Frankenstein. Shelley gives the book the subtitle, The Modern Prometheus, and the influences on the work are obvious. Like the Greek Titan, Dr. Frankenstein is a skilled craftsman who shapes, forms, and gives life to a humanoid creature. Like Prometheus, he is the bringer of godlike knowledge to humanity. However, where in the Greek myth these are separate events, in Frankenstein they are one and the same. The fire is the shaping of life.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
The Doctor is bringing divine knowledge to humans by giving life to a creature. His motivations for his actions are similar to the Titans. The Doctor is driven by little more than curiosity and selfish desire, not out of any goodwill towards his creation. He wants to attain the power to create life, but has no interest in taking care of that life. The moment he accomplishes his goal and the creature begins to breathe, Dr. Frankenstein recalls,
"But now that I had finished The beauty of the dream vanished, and breathless horror and disgust filled my heart.
He flees the scene and wants nothing more to do with the creature. The monster, on the other hand, is helpless. It did not ask to be created, and it wanders around looking for guidance without aid. After several months, the creature confronts Dr. Frankenstein with a simple request. He was brought into this world and was immediately abandoned. He has nobody to share his existence with.
Alone. Bad. Friend. Good.
So, he asks the doctor to make him a female companion, on the condition that they will both flee civilization and live out their existence in exile. While the doctor initially agrees and goes about constructing the body, he pauses before giving it life. He writes,
Even if they were to leave Europe and inhabit the deserts of the New World, yet one of the first results of those sympathies for which the demon thirsted would be children, and a race of devils would be propagated upon the earth, who might make the very existence of the species of man a condition precarious and full of terror. I thought with a sensation of madness on my promise of creating another like to him, and trembling with passion, tore to pieces the thing on which I was engaged.
The doctor destroys the creature's bride. In Frankenstein, there are two attitudes on display of a creator's disposition towards their creation. The first is that of the doctor towards the creatures. He is repulsed by their very existence, disgusted at the sight of them, though it was entirely by his own hand that they were brought into this world. His disdain for them is not initially attributed to any evil they committed, only their appearance and the potential for retaliation. He was threatened by his creation, and so he hated it. When tragedy hits, we wonder if our plight is that of Frankenstein's monster. We ask, does God hate me? Even though he made me, did he turn against me when he saw who I really was? Alternatively, there is another attitude on display in the book: apathy. God is nowhere present in the book. Dr. Frankenstein is left to his own devices, completely on his own. The punishment for his actions does not come from a higher power like Zeus or the engineers. It comes from his own creation. The creature itself takes matters into its own hands to punish the doctor for his crimes. In tragedy, we might be tempted to sympathize with the doctor. We wonder, maybe God is in his heaven and we're on our own down here, and all this suffering is just the natural consequences of our own actions. God just doesn't care about us, if he even exists at all. In Frankenstein, we are either on our own or we are punished just for existing. But there is another disposition that we've not yet discussed. Three ecumenical creeds unite all Christians across the globe, whether Orthodox, Catholic, or Protestant. Despite disagreements about faith and belief, all Christians affirm these creeds. They are the Apostles' Creed, the Nicene Creed, and the Athanasian Creed. This third creed is named after the 4th century theologian Athanasius. Athanasius wrote a work called On the Incarnation, and in it he explains why God became man in the person of Jesus Christ. He sets up what he calls the divine dilemma. You see, God created man, but man chose evil over God. The divine dilemma comes from the fact that, on the one hand, God said that choosing evil will result in death, and God must be true to his word. On the other hand, it is improper that God should make something only to destroy it. Why make humanity in the first place if, in the end, they would all choose evil and die? The incarnation of God, when he became human, is God's solution to the divine dilemma. God saw that evil and death reigned in the lives of humanity, so he did something about it. Athanasius writes, "Now he comes, condescending towards us in his love for human beings and his manifestation, foreseeing death reigning over them through corruption, and that the very things of which he himself was the creator were disappearing, and seeing the excessive wickedness of human beings, that they gradually increased it to an intolerable pitch against themselves, having mercy upon our race, and having pity upon our weakness, he takes for himself a body, and that not foreign to our own." Athanasius sees the life and death of Christ as the means by which God rescues humanity from death and evil. This resolves the divine dilemma because God is both staying true to what he said, humanity's evil will lead to death, and he keeps what he created from being destroyed by taking that death upon himself. That as human beings had turned towards corruption, he might turn them again to incorruptibility and give them life from death by making the body his own, and by the grace of the resurrection banishing death from them as straw from the fire. Athanasius argues that when a king constructs a city, and that city is attacked by bandits or foreign invaders, even if it's because of the carelessness of its inhabitants, surely the king will not abandon the city. He will defend it from invaders, because he made the city and won't let anything threaten it, even the carelessness of the citizens. In the same way, God will not abandon humanity to destruction, not even self-destruction. He made us, and he's going to take care of us, not annihilate us. All the more so, the God-word of the all-good Father did not neglect the race of human beings created by himself, which was going to corruption, but he blotted out the death which had occurred through the offering of his own body. Athanasius describes God's incarnation as an expression of sacrificial, unrelenting love for his creation. He cared for humanity so much that he took death upon himself in order to redeem his creatures. In the Greek myth of Prometheus, the gods use mankind as toys for their pleasure. In Ridley Scott's Prometheus, the creators seek to destroy humanity because of our evil nature. In Frankenstein, the creator despises the creature just for existing. But in Christ, we see God's undying love for humanity. For Christ did not come to condemn the world, but to save the world through him. The patriarch grieving in the dirt wonders what God's disposition is towards him in the midst of his loss. God arrives in a windstorm to answer his cries and direct his attention to creation. Do you know when the mountain goats give birth? Do you watch the doe bear her fawn? Do you count the months till they bear? Do you know the time they give birth? Do you give the horse its strength or clothe its neck with a flowing mane? Do you make it leap like a locust, striking fear with its proud snorting? Does the hawk take flight at your wisdom and spread its wings to the south? Does the eagle soar at your command and build its nest on high? At this bombardment of questions, the patriarch is shown how God has created this world, and he continues to direct it. And if God can take care of his creation, then surely he can take care of humanity. To learn the disposition of God, the patriarch had to look to creation, the natural world, to see that he cares for us. How much more can we look to Jesus Christ to see that his disposition is one of a loving Father, a gracious King, and a caring Creator? He's not going to abandon humanity to destruction, even if it's our own fault. But he sent his Son to save us. For God has shown his great love for us in this, that while we were still sinners, Christ came and died for us.
The illumine come today. The illumine come and take. The illumine come and take away the pain. He might come and take it all away. The illumine bring the rain. The illumine leave you in a hurricane. Oh, but keep breathing on the pounding waves. It might come and take it all